Until last month, he was the director of hostage recovery for the United States government. He's got decades of experience working in counterterrorism as well as in hostage rescue and recovery efforts, which makes him the perfect person to talk to about all of this today. Chris, good to see you in person again. Thank you for being with us. This is rescue and recovery efforts going on. There's clearly something going on because we had two hostages released and we had the government of Qatar involved, which is fairly typical when we deal with hostage releases. So there's some conversation going on somewhere. But in your old job until a month ago, there would also be a parallel track in the case that everything went wrong and you needed to go in hot to get these hostages, or you, meaning the American government or troops or the Israelis or whomever. Tell me about how these parallel tracks work.
So as soon as an American is taken, it triggers the response from the U.S. government. It's a whole of government response. So it's special operations forces, our intelligence professionals, FBI agents, intelligence analysts, negotiators, all of which immediately deploy. In this case, it's unique because the hostages were taken in Israel and brought back into Gaza. So we're doing it in partnership with the Israelis. But that's not new. We have, just a year ago, we conducted an exercise to work with the Israelis to be able to respond collectively to an incident. Actually, even more recently, we did one in Doha with the Qataris back in mid-July. The idea is to be able to respond in a synchronized manner to a complex hostage incident when there are citizens from multiple nations taken. Because this is a global community problem. It's not just an American or Israeli problem. We have to respond collectively.
Is it relevant to the people like you who would be planning how to go in and get those hostages that there is a separate process going on, or maybe it's a not separate, coordinated process for negotiation? Because obviously the best outcome is a negotiated release.
Yeah, so we're in my old role, and what I would assume is going on right now, because it is standard operating procedure, you're looking for any opportunities. This is a challenging tactical environment, and there's not a reference point that I can point to in the modern era that is even close. There are a couple of vignettes, TWA 847 in 1985, and then a few months later, the Achille Lauro event. They pale in comparison to this. This is a dense urban environment with hundreds of miles of improved subterranean tunnels, extensive rubble now, and a sympathetic population, although it doesn't mean they're members of Hamas, as the ambassador was just talking about, but they're also not necessarily going to aid in the rescue of the hostages. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult to collect intelligence. You don't have personnel on ground. It's difficult to put people on the ground to do strategic reconnaissance. That is not to say that it's not all being worked, because the hostage enterprise from both the United States and from our close foreign partners, Israel being one of them, they're problem solvers. They are building solutions with the information that they have. From the day that this happened, they were building an in extremis hostage response. If things start going south really quickly, they will move on the information that they have. But the more mature approach right now, because this is a very challenging hostage rescue, calculation, is to move towards a negotiated release. That's why bringing in a great legitimate partner like the Qataris is the right move.
So the idea, and I had the son of a woman who he believes is a hostage, say to me, we've seen a number of families of hostages say to the Israeli government, just slow your roll on talking about this ground invasion until we get our hostages out. You can do what you will with Hamas after that. Tell me about that calculus, because again, there's not a lot of examples about this in history. The Israelis keep telling us every day they're ready. They're ready for the ground invasion. Could happen at any minute. And the families are saying, could you just stop saying that?
Yeah, and so if I had a loved one taken, I'd probably be asking for the same thing. The problem is you have a dilemma here for the Israeli government and for the 30 other partner nations that have hostages taken. Israel was the recipient of a horrific terrorist attack just 2 weeks ago by a barbaric terrorist organization, and that's what Hamas is. That's what PIDG is, and you cannot, paint it in any other way. If you look back at Hamas, who has quite a bit of experience taking hostages, They held one Israeli soldier for 5 years and then negotiated a release of 1,000 plus Palestinian prisoners. They will use this to delay the invasion of Gaza for as long as they can. They will use it as a calculated tactic as part of their terrorist approach. And, listen, foundationally, the definition of terrorism is the calculated use of violence to intimidate and terrorize a populace and also an audience beyond its immediate victims. They've demonstrated that very effectively and a propensity to continue to do it.
These two hostages who have been released, I imagine they're being debriefed. What is it people want to know? Meaning people like you, the hostage negotiators, the Israeli government, the American government. What are they asking them first?
Well, I'll tell you this. The first thing, first and foremost, to make sure that their health and welfare are looked after. And so there will be a team of medical and psychological professionals that are there and victim services specialists to ensure that they are not only healthy, but that they can return home whole psychologically. But there will also be intelligence professionals from the United States and from the international community that will look for any detail that can illuminate who the captor network is, to identify what location they might have been held at or where they may have been moved from or to. Do those things correlate with traditional bed down locations from known Hamas members or what we call NAIs, known areas of interest, so we can focus additional collection on that.
And that'll all be correlated so that Hamas has got to know by letting two hostages go, they're going to get a lot of questions. So unless they were blindfolded the whole time, we don't know anything about how they were kept. There's going to be information, usable information that's extracted.
So there's usable information. As challenging as this is, the U.S. intelligence community and Israelis and their counterterrorism forces are gifted at this. The United States has been exceptionally well-rehearsed and effective at hunting people for the last 22 years since 9/11. All of that experience, all of our technology brings us to a point where we're very good at this. We will partner with the Israelis to layer on all the different types of intelligence. Some of it's open source, some of it's commercially available information from smartphones, and then you have the more high-end stuff, which will really dig deep. But there's no piece of information that's not being looked at, analyzed, and exploited and put into the targeting cycle so we can develop some options for recovery. And not to make the invasion of Gaza look like it's going to be anything but horrific. But as soon as Israel goes in, that gives targeting opportunities to start taking Hamas members, start hitting locations where there will be information when sensitive site exploitation is done, that more intelligence will be gathered to build a picture.
Chris, thanks very much. Always good to have your expertise. We appreciate it.
Good to be here.
Christopher O'Leary is the former director of hostage recovery for the United States. He's the senior vice president of global affairs for the Soufan Group.